And then,
Well, Aggie and I were just discussing the way the world ought to work. And so we decided maybe you wanted to sit in. We're playing with all our new tools, you know. She's sure being quiet, isn't she? How do you want the world to work?
I want it to be all sweet.
You gotta talk loud enough for them to hear you.
Oh, yeah, okay. I want it to be, good for everyone.
Well, that can't happen.
Well,
Unless you're one of them people that are into that. I read an article that says non-duality in science. There was actually Terry sent it to me. I think she's into that oneness thing. She doesn't like that duality too much. And my thing is nothing can exist without an opposite. Non-duality. That means there wouldn't be any women, or maybe there wouldn't be any men. But hello, why be alive? That's life is duality. I mean, come on. It's like it has to be there. Gandhi and Hitler were here at the same time. Now, boy, it'd be nice if everybody could be the Gandhi side.
mhm.
But if I remember right, more people chose the Hitler side. And a lot of people that wanted to think they were on the Gandhi side figured they had to kill the Hitler side, which they did, which, I'm not arguing with, but it doesn't work like that. I mean, it just,
But you told me it would be possible to have a peaceful society, not really peace.
it is. But that has to happen inside the son of a bitch. You can't cram it down his throat.
But if it happened inside everybody, it would be everywhere on the planet.
The most confusing word that's ever been invented is if. If my grandmother had balls, I wouldn't be here. Honey, it's like we were talking about earlier. The hardest part of achieving the total majority is removing that judgment to the point to where I'm not saying you endorse it. I mean, I'm not saying endorse it, but you have to accept that it's part of it until universal consciousness is achieved.
Accepting it sounds like you're just saying that I intellectually acknowledge that it's necessary to have both.
All right, it's not even necessary. I didn't say it was necessary. I said right now it is. That's what I said. I said it is. And you're not going to achieve that center through denial of it. You have to.
I think that I do.
I'm not saying you do.
Oh.
But yes, you do. You judge. You turn around. You turn around just last night while we were watching that movie, honey.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, when the little violent part started coming up, you couldn't even watch. You couldn't finish a book because it got a little violent. It's like, see.
That doesn't mean that I don't accept that it exists.
What does it mean? Oh, you don't want to experience.
I don't want it in my space. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately.
So you're telling me I have to accept it in my space?
No. It's metaphysics, honey. Metaphysics. A nice word. A word basically conceived of. Basically, there is debate about this, but it was basically conceived by this old philosopher just a short time ago, Immanuel Kant. Metaphysics is the discussion of or investigation of, depending on how you choose to interpret the word. That's one of the things about transliterations are horrible. But it's either the investigation or discussion of reality in contradistinction to itself. That's his definition of his word. Now, what they've done with this word since then is abstract. S.J. Hayakawa used to pick on people. He'd have a graduating class and he'd say, define white. And, you'd have 22 PhD applicants, and none of them agreed on a definition of white. I mean, that's why we call it semantics. But it's not necessary. It's there, okay?
What's the
That thing you call evil. So isn't the thing you call good. The place in the middle. In Hermetics, we refer to it as ecstasy. There is no good or evil. See, that's the what we seek. Hermetics. Okay? Now, other people may seek it different ways, other people may seek it different ways, but as long as you turn around and have increased opposition, as long as the opposites get more and more, so somebody is so goddamn good that we end up with an atom bomb. Or, of course, there's an awful lot of people that think it was a good thing to have the atom bomb so we could finally stop the Japs. I mean, that the semantical aspects and even the rhetorical aspects are irrelevant. That is the problem with this entire New Age bullshit and all this shit going on. That's where the problem comes from. It isn't.
What's the problem?
Everybody wants to be on the positive side, and everybody is judging the negative side. And of course, the negative side is going, oh boy, I love these positive son of a bitches because it's somebody to rob or beat up. Consciousness, universal consciousness, takes place without judgment. Without judgment. Your auric vision, your telepathy, your communion takes place without judgment. There's black people, there's white people, there's red people, there's yellow people, there's every shade of people. That seems to be mellowing out a little bit, but there's still extreme prejudice on the planet. Everybody still thinks they're better. That's the original I am, right? I mean, that's how the concept of God started, for Christ's sake. Everything was there, we had everything, so everything had to be nothing. If you're using contemporary language, of course, the new scientific non-dualism, it's, great, there's no light and dark.
How do they propose that there is no light and dark?
Honey, they're creationists.
Oh.
They're creationists.
Scientific?
They are creationists with enough education
To bullshit.
to be able to twist things around. What do they call them? Spin masters. And so all of a sudden you go to some new age thing or something like that, and this person's real popular, and they're dropping them creationist subliminals in on it. It's like, at the present time, I will stick with physical science over philosophy. As much as I disagree with several aspects of Darwin's theory, but honey, it's old. But still, it seems to work. I mean, it seems to be proving itself out. That's like saying relativity ain't there. I mean, there's things beyond relativity now, but they wouldn't have happened without relativity. Nothing can happen until it's scientifically possible. They're going to have a hard time convincing me the planet's only been here 10,000 years. I've been backpacking on the top of the fucking Rocky Mountains and picked up seashells. I mean, it's, you know, everything has value. You have to partake. I mean, it has value. So it's not, it's no one can explain why that concept, good and evil, black and white, even male, female, for that. I mean, that's a separation. That's a separation. Lifestyle wise, emotional wise, every physiology. It's a separation. It's a separation. I mean, if that's not dualistic, I mean, I don't know what is, but it's a separation. The concept is this is why sex got involved in a lot of the more metaphysical aspects, little cults within religion and stuff. You know, in the Hindu, the Tantra, it was like the male and female becoming one entity that was androgynous. It was neither male or female, and that's what caused the telepathic, emotional, total union between them.
Because of
And ancient Christianity had Christos. There's always been little magical things that take that primary opposition of male and female. Christianity created in the Garden of Eden, and of course you got that famous snake. But it's that polarity. But that polarity is also the energy that allows human consciousness to have a desire to join, and that desire to join is the solution to the Trinity concept in theology. That desire to join, that desire to become one, is what we feed and what we teach. You know, how many times have I heard, you know, New Age philosophers, oh yeah, no, everything's fine. No, but you got to do it this way.
For example.
The star people that we dealt with a few months ago. All religions, it's all ways are okay until it's done. Somehow.
How about my Course in Miracles book?
Course in Miracles is wonderful. If there is one thing I can endorse, it's Course in Miracles. I can also endorse the Tao. I mean, I can endorse the Bible or even the Quran. It's not, the philosophy is, you know, basically the same. Religious philosophies, the prophets, the philosophers that promulgated these ideas, all wanted oneness. They all wanted universal consciousness. And then the teachers had to live, and then they wanted to live a little better, and then they wanted to live a little better, and then the human thing took over, and, you know, now you're subject to heavy dogma.
I grew up in a Methodist church where I was never taught that people in another religion needed to be attacked. I was taught that God loves everyone.
But that's good. That's good. So everybody should be a Methodist, or at least
saying that.
I
My
said
experience.
I like it. There are some. How do I describe this? It depends on the teacher, or the preacher, or the
Yes.
pastor, or whatever. Depends on that individual. In the Methodist community, it happened very long ago. You have to forgive my time frame because as I get old, my Alzheimer's starts acting up a little bit. But there was a couple of ladies, I think it was New Hampshire, Connecticut, somewhere up in there, that wanted to get ordained. And boy, God didn't love them.
I'm speaking from my personal
That's what I'm saying.
experience,
It's the
and
past.
religion is what I make of it.
That's true.
Well, I don't go to church because there is a bunch of dogma and I don't like it.
That's true.
But I've made it.
There's nothing wrong with dogma if you don't adhere to it. In other words, they can dogma, simple dogma. It's the beginning of the Judeo-Christian tradition. This old hairy bastard, Moses, I think they called him. You know, he floated down the river in a kayak when he was a little baby, and they found him, and he became basically a prince of Egypt, and then stole all their slaves to start a religion. But he was a pretty good dude, you know, part of the Red Sea.
Trust itself.
Yeah, he trusted self. But he's walking across the desert with all these people. You know, in fact, this desert, and they're looking for the promised land. So they don't have time to stop and farm and stuff like this. And you know, they were eating anything they could get or steal or anything because, you know, they'd whip the other.
Gypsies.
Oh, they were true gypsies, boy, they were on it. And old Moses noticed that, you know, man, every time they stole a bunch of pigs, a bunch of people might die. So he said, don't eat no more pigs. It was pretty cool. See, you notice that's one of the things the Muslims adhere to too. Why? Because trichinosis in that area of the world, because of the climate and everything else, unless you're literally, totally cooked all the food value out of your meat, pork could give you trichinosis. See? So that's dogma. But that's good dogma. So no, they did the same fucking
So your
thing.
definition of dogma is any rule.
My definition of dogma is a law, right?
Does it matter whether everyone agrees to it?
No, dogma is what's being presented by a particular person or organization.
So I could be presenting dogma to you
Absolutely.
if I had fixed ideas.
Absolutely. The Catholic Church says you can't use birth control. And yet, an awful lot of the prelates in the United States don't push that on their people. But in Italy or South America, they do. It's like, stop.
Okay, so if I acknowledge that it's like some people want to use birth control and some people don't, and I choose to use birth control, is that dogma because I made a choice?
As long as you don't tell other people they should do it, it's not dogma.
So dogma involves holding a value and trying
To impress it upon another.
Okay.
That's dogma.
Okay.
Attempting to impress a value upon another.
So opinions are not dogma.
Well, it depends. If the opinion is that you really should do this or you're going to hell, that's dogma. If the opinion is, like us sitting here having this discussion and we're just enjoying ourselves, we're actually trying to center when we do this. We're not fighting each other. We're actually, you know, seeking common ground. See, that's a discussion. See, that's not dogma. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, I'm not a woman. I haven't been for quite a few centuries. And so as a result of that, I don't even allow myself into the discussion on that level. I avoid it. However, I've had people come to me, students and people in the community, and say, is Spirit here yet? You know, the woman wanted to know. I mean, nowadays they test positive pretty early. I mean, they know in a day or two. because philosophically, you know, maybe it shouldn't have been done if the spirit's already there.
In the fetus.
Right, but even within the community, the discussion continues. Why would you deny the spirit the right to pick a host and not be able to have that horrible pain even before birth, and therefore avoid this outrageous karma in their next reality? I mean, you want to talk metaphysics? It's hard not to be judgmental. It's hard. I mean, we can get it on. You know, it's like
Being judged.
what you do for self is what you're supposed to do. The problem that happened, what slowed down spiritual development, people have so much else to do in their reality. And see, that, if you want to use the Christian or Islamic or even Buddhist or Hindu term, that's the negative energy. Desire. Want.
Is
And
desire
so the devil, if we're going to use Christian terminology, invents all these things that it manages to convince you that you need them. So you spend so much of your energy trying to accumulate and achieve that you do not find higher self. That's a really good discussion. You see? And it's amazing. They invented these fucking things only 10 or 12 years ago. And now there's a better one every 2 months. And people run out to get them. I gotta get the new one. It's $500. It's a fucking week's pay. 2 weeks pay if you work at fucking McDonald's. But you see kids at McDonald's walking around with one in their pocket. So they spend 2 weeks pay on that. Now how much time during them 2 weeks did they spend thinking about universal consciousness or the other person? You see, that is why even biblically they say you cannot serve God and mammon both.
So if the people that do the subliminals, for the masses were to promote spiritual development, would they help spiritual progress for the masses?
Absolutely.
So they're actually
So Course of
working
Miracles,
against it.
look what Course of Miracles did. It did, and it's still doing it. And there's buried Christian dogma in there, but it's so balanced and so easy that it has helped a lot of people.
It undoes the Christian dogma.
It just totally, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. And you take a lot of the other hard dogma, and it's like, it seems to separate. But I assure you, this is really what Hermetics is. I assure you, it's all in there. It's
All of what is in there.
It's all part of the whole. This asshole that shot that park ranger in Washington State yesterday. Somehow he's part of the whole. You know what I'm saying? Sai Baba was part of the whole. You know, everything is part of the whole.
Isn't that very...
So the conflict comes when we try to say, oh no, the whole should be here. You see, the whole shouldn't be here. The whole should be the whole. The way it becomes the whole is through the removal of judgment.
I think that's what a lot of your students try to do. Like Luis was talking on the solstice thing. People want, and that's very oriental to me, that you accept both sides, positive and negative. That's what is, and that is God. That's what they say. My understanding. So people who don't know about Hermetics but are spiritual seekers accept the negativity but don't focus on it.
All
So I don't
Hermetics,
watch the news and hear about the 5,000 people dying.
all Hermetics means is a cult. That's another word. All a cult means is hidden.
Right.
You know. Well, when a cult started achieving a negative reputation a couple of 150 years ago,
How did that happen?
because they wanted to burn witches.
Wasn't that 1,000 years ago?
Well, I mean, about 600, 700. But anyway, it's back. It's like, you know, I told you my time factors are fucked up.
The Inquisition.
Yeah, that was, you know, it was, but that was heretics. That was their big thing. You didn't believe in their God, they're going to burn you. The Puritans in Salem, Massachusetts, it's persecution has always been from one side or the other. From one side or the other. That's part of the thing. Somehow, the thing that stops us from achieving unity is not understanding how it fits. Okay. Some of the discussion as we lay around, like when I'm on Prime at night and all the, you know, when we the sissimies and stuff get together on and off and take turns and shit. A lot of the discussion is always about, you know, how it's going to fit. How it's going to fit. How Hitler and Gandhi and the rest of the world are all going to be one. And the basic consensus is that it's already happened. And the only thing keeping them separate is judgment. Honey, we're in 2012. We're coming up on the beaner. We're coming up on the beaner. The whole process is the removal of judgment. I mean, that's how it works.